how do you say, you know, the information, the secret service of Eastern Germany.
Okay.
The bad one, of course. And they would even be hiding as guests or as churchgoers, and would spy, because they were always spying on everybody in the public, or in the, like, all the people who would be sort of standing out, or especially Christians. They would just spy on Christians. My mother, for instance, she just said like a few days ago that they would be following her on the street because everybody had a certain file.
Oh.
Yeah, that was part of the whole spy program that they had. The people who were suspicious and just by, I don't know, listening to the Rolling Stones or something would be suspicious because it was Western music.
Okay.
In the communist country, and like almost everybody had a file where they would just, where the spies that would spy on you would notify what they saw, or what you did, or who you to whom you talk, or yeah. And so these people would actually take part in, be a part of the service, but secretive.
Okay.
And but the peace prayers and the services would continue for years, like for 5 to 7 years. And in the end, in '89, these Monday services would be followed by demonstrations, peaceful demonstrations, which were dangerous because you could just be arrested or thrown into jail, because everything was at jeopardy. They were just like they could just do with you whatever they wanted. And if you were suspicious, like demonstrating, which was not allowed, you could just be thrown into jail. So this was actually very like heroic, I would almost say. But they only demonstrated for peace, and these would go on for a few weeks, like these Monday demonstrations. And then they would grow and grow, and people would become more courageous, and because it was an act of courage to take part in those demonstrations. Because they were not and they would grow, and they would become so big that maybe hundreds of thousands of people, like I think 100,000 people would be part of this demonstration, and other cities in Eastern Germany would follow, Leipzig, like Chemnitz or Berlin, and would have demonstrations. And this is how this whole atmosphere of change was brought about. Like alongside things that happened in Russia, of course. Like these were all things that happened parallelly, like simultaneously. But I think personally, I mean, you won't find this in history books, but I personally think that it started in this church in Leipzig, where, like, with prayer, that brought, like, that took down a whole system of captivity.
Because there really was an ideology more than just a governmental restriction.
It was a communist ideology that formed this whole system, or that was the basis of this whole system, because it was a communist country.
That's cool to start in your hometown.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone who went to like the prayer meetings?
Prayer meetings, my father did. He was actually part of the church staff around that time.
Really?
Yeah. East side.
Oh, here it is.
East side. Here it is. This is the most famous part of it.
I've definitely seen it before.
This is Russian. It says, "My God, help me to survive this deathly love," which is funny because I think this one guy was the head of the GDR and this other guy was the head of Russia, and this connection from Eastern Germany and Russia was what made it so deathly, because everything was modeled after the communist regime in Russia. And you would have Russian military here presented for all of the 40 years after the Second World War, when this system was installed. And yeah, everything was modeled after the communist regime in Russia.